Hi, I'm Matt from HockeyReviews.ca, and this is the CCM Eflex 6 blocker review. So we are reviewing the whole set of this line, all because of Just Hockey. They let me borrow this demo set of theirs, take it out, do tests with, as well as use it on the ice, just like that Vaughn set. So we're doing the review and we are talking about this blocker right here. So check out the links in the description as well as the end of the video for the other ones of this set. And make sure you check out Just Hockey. Links in the description. Follow on Instagram stuff. Buy something from them. Let them know that you came from Hockey Reviews and that these reviews are appreciated. So this is obviously the Eflex 6. So I never used the Eflex 5s. I took a look at them. I had Eflex 4s, and honestly the blocker on it was one of the softest blockers I had and used, and I wasn't a huge fan of it. This one is honestly a pretty big departure, and it's probably pretty close to the Axis 2. Unfortunately, I never got a chance to check out the Axis 2. If you want to see me review stuff like that, let CCM know on social medias and stuff like that. But this has changed a lot since the Eflex 4 that I originally had and used, for the better, to be totally honest. This is a pretty interesting glove. Now, before we begin all that, Core Tech, which are Core shorts, and people have heard of these before, they were labeled under Under Armour before. Now Bauer sells hockey specific one, but Core themselves sell their own line of pants and supportive clothing and apparel. Basically, this stuff helps you with growing strains, growing pulls, and helps keep your hips tight and everything like that. And speaking of injuries, I kind of pulled a growing playing in the playoffs a few months ago and have had to keep using these Core Tech shorts to make sure my growing doesn't get worse. When I don't wear them, I can feel it and it hurts kind of to walk the next day. With these, keeps everything nice and tight and keeps everything from stretching out too far and getting injured. So these have been a huge savior for me. Check out the link in the description to their website and use my coupon code that's in there to get a discount, and I'll put it on the screen here. It helps support myself and the channel so I can make content and doing real reviews, but also you get a solid product that I use all the time and basically am needed in order to keep my growing from falling apart. Otherwise, if you want to support the channel without buying anything, check out the links in the description to Patreon and buy me a coffee. Everything through those links always comes back into the channel so I can keep making more content and doing more reviews. So first of all, we have the most important part right here, and that is the graphics. And I honestly am not a huge fan of these, but you can do some pretty simple designs that I kind of like. But overall, I wish there was something kind of more on here. They all kind of just all go in the same direction, and you can't really break them up at all. It's always like the lines, right? There's no kind of breaking it through. Kind of disappointing in that sense. But when you saw like Demko use them, where it was like a green or blue piece here with the different colors, it's clean, and it honestly, it looked okay. I liked the look of it, but it is overall pretty boring all around. And this is a different color, so these aren't supposed to match at all, but it just gives you the idea of another color option. And no matter what, the lines are always kind of going the same way, so that is kind of disappointing to me. With that said, I do like what CCM kind of did here in terms of lining up like these pieces right here, right? So these two match, these two match, those two match, and these kind of match with the logos kind of go in the same direction. And what I like about that, when you're actually holding them like this, and especially like in blocking and everything too, the graphics are now aligning, so it's not kind of reversed. CCM was really bad in that in the past, where their catching glove was like totally swapped. So when you actually hold the glove like this piece was basically right here, and it just was very odd. So I'm a huge fan that these actually line up and match. It's a small thing, but it is nice to see in that sense. They also have their kind of printing going on here, so you can see it right here with these little lines going through it. Nothing crazy on this one. Eventually this 3D printing is going to come to the retail market, and you can kind of see it on the white, but you can see it like through with a puck mark, so it's kind of interesting in that sense. And as an example, just the two red ones here where it is on there. So nothing crazy with the printing on here. I know this isn't one of the white ones where like if you select white on this color, you can do like orange lines and stuff, so it looks kind of different. It's like a fade. So this isn't that option. This is just obviously the simple one. They selected red on it and white on here, but they didn't go for that color option. So we'll just talk about the features first, and then we'll talk about kind of the usage of it. You can see the kind of decently shaped board right here. It's pretty aggressive. It's not like the most aggressive one on the market, but it's also not flat either. So it's kind of just in the middle, but I do like that rounded piece, and you can see all the puck marks on the top of it. I found the control and it was pretty good, and that rounded piece is solid for that. A lot thinner board than what we have seen in the past from some companies. True, for example, which is the Lefebvre made gear. The board is thicker than what this is, which you can see here in terms of overall board thickness. Doesn't have that crazy angle where the Bauer Vapor ones do, where this really comes to a point. Obviously it's smaller there, but it's not like that crazy aggressive, really sharp piece right there. So big difference there. I do also like how they have this in here, so you can open this up, look at the foams, which you can kind of see right here, as well as the plastic in there. So if you really wanted to replace all this, it makes it kind of easy. Lefebvre and True do that as well, but I'm a fan of that because it makes it like fixing this easier in that sense. Sidewall is very traditional in terms of CCM design. It's been like this for a while. There might be some small changes, but pretty standard. A pretty like stiff density foam right here. Here it's not. As you can see, you can kind of move it a bit, but this part back here is reinforced, as you can see by this kind of piece right here. So this is like their tacky material. I can't remember what this is called, but this was on knee blocks and stuff like that, and it's right built in there, and this definitely makes that a bit stiffer. So this does unvelcro from the thumb here. I'm not really sure why it unvelcros, but the whole actual piece right here unvelcros from this side as well. So if you want to replace this foam in here, which is this little white piece right in there, you can unvelcro this and you can probably replace it that way, which is a kind of nice touch. I do like how it has like a denser foam here and then a softer foam right here as well for extra padding. So you have that harder, denser foam, softer foam through there. So then when you put your hand in there, you have a decent amount of stiffness there. So that isn't obviously the best in there. Bauer is still pretty unreal with their plastic and composite material designs in there, but it is very good and a solid overall. I have no issues with that whatsoever. Interesting too that there is a little wear guard of speed skin right here, as you can see, going right here. So that is obviously where your stick is going to be sitting. So nice little touch right there. And then we look at the cuff and we can kind of see some changes here, but specifically compared to like that 4 line, which obviously there's been new ones, this is pretty similar in terms of design to what True has done and Lefebvre has done, where they've really opened this up and have a lot of adjustability in there. So when we look at this cuff, it does have an adjustable piece right here and adjustable piece right here as well. So it really does allow it to be really open, and as well, nice soft Velcro piece right here, so it won't really get stuck to your whole insides of your glove, and you can adjust this to be extremely open if you really wanted to get absolutely no restriction. As you can see, it goes all the way down, but if you want to be a little bit more tame and even just covered all of that up and covered like all of that up, even then mobility on it is very good, and you can hear it hitting, but it doesn't really stop at all, and I would have no issues. That's how I wore it. I had no issues with mobility whatsoever on there, and it's a very open cuff, so it doesn't get in the way of, like, I'm wearing Warrior chest protector right now. Massive blocks. This, I never really noticed this whatsoever when playing with these blocks. So they also have Polygene in here, as you can see, something that supposedly kills bacteria so odor doesn't build up in the glove, and a nice soft material on here using speed skin here, and then normal nylon kind of down here. As you can see on this side too, it is called the Flex Motion Cuff right there, and we're going to see here one of the best features I think on blockers for this strapping system is this quick pull strap. So just like on your catching gloves, instead of having Velcro here, you have this quick pull, tighten it, loosen it really easily. I find you don't really need to tighten this at all because the glove is pretty snug overall, but I do like how that is there. This is my favorite piece on blockers, like the favorite strap style, and CCM has done it for a couple times now. I'm happy to keep doing it, and it's one of my favorite pieces right there. For the thumb, I actually think this is kind of a downgrade to what True and CCM has done in the past, where you do have this more beefy thumb right here with the inner padded pillow, which that pillow is still sitting right here, but you can't Velcro into it here. But the reason I think this is a downgrade is because this one is a lot bigger, and so you can see how it's like bulkier, so it has more of a dense foam right there, where this one is just skinnier overall, and this one kind of has a flex piece to it. And as you can see, that one, the whole thumb bends, but this part, it's just kind of like right here. I don't think a blocker thumb needs a flex piece. Now, maybe this is me being a curmudgeon old person. You don't really need a flex thumb on a blocker ever. So I wish this was more just stable in here and stronger overall. You can definitely see like that's where this stops, right? So whether or not this will give as much protection as this, I think it's going to be a little less, just how this is thinner of foams, and even though this does have a plastic in here, I still think that's going to give it a little bit less, and I don't think that is necessarily needed. You have this nice Nash palm, and it really feels like CCM is leveraging their player designs and materials here. This feels like an AX suede. I can't remember if they ever said it was, but it feels like a nice AX suede on here, and you have your spandex-ish gussets. They're not totally spandex. It's like the cheaper version of player gloves, but it's fine because you don't really need these to really stretch all that much. And they do a good enough job holding the fingers in place, but a nice overlay as well. And this material all feels pretty much the same throughout. Then you have this mesh for breathability at the back, but this doesn't breathe that well compared to other air meshes I've seen. Like, I can't really feel air going through here that much. So interesting design choice, but it's not amazing in that sense. There's also not a ton of foam padding in here either. It is just feels like the layers of the palm, and that's kind of it, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Some people want that feel of that thinner palm without the padding in it. I didn't notice any like really bad vibrations with this blocker when using it, so it was totally fine in that sense. And you do have that pillow back here as well for padding, which you can't really see it in here though, but there is a pillow behind there. It's just how blockers are made. And you can see the inner pillow right there. Also that gray kind of AX suede feeling material. Very nice to feel and on your hand and everything. It feels really fantastic. Like, again, if this feels like their player gloves, and their player gloves are really soft and pretty solid overall, probably one of the best player gloves in the market, this feels similar to that, so it feels really good in that sense. Also, when we get to the fingers, it does have padding on the back, but not massive one. It's just kind of little for extra protection there through this finger protection block, which we'll talk to in a second. One of the best integrations of how to connect fingers, and this is kind of what I'm always talking about, where you have to have kind of an anchor point and two parts pulling up. This is very smart by CCM. You have a piece of like Gen Pro right there, which is their speed skin right there, and when it pulls down, it pulls the finger straight down. So you can see it's not angled at all, it's just pulling it straight down. Same with right here. So when you pull that down, it pulls it straight down and it's not angled to the side. Fantastic design. Great job by CCM in that. Finally, on the palm, it does feel pretty snug compared to some other gloves. It's a lot more snug than what this one is. So when you're kind of shaking it, I don't have to tighten this at all. It's pretty, feels pretty good and tight on there. It doesn't feel loose. You could crank this if you really wanted to get it really tight, but I feel like you don't really need that overall. So I'm a fan of this tightness on here. Maybe if you have massive hands, this might be an issue, but it does feel pretty good overall. And it really helped with kind of balance feel and like redirecting pucks with the blocker, not getting all sloppy. So it was great in that sense. Going on to index finger protection, it's that pretty similar design that you've seen in CCM blockers for a while. It has this piece right here. And this is like the straight one where True is kind of angled this off a bit. This one is the straight one. I was a huge fan of this in the past. And when we line it up here, you can see where it covers. So ideally a puck won't go to your fingers there. So that piece does get in the way. Now I have found that I can't really tilt this blocker that much forward to make it kind of sit like this. Now if you hold this in a different way, where like kind of that Bobrovsky grip, it does definitely kind of block a little bit better. But the way I hold it, kind of more angled, I can't. Like that puck always fits under this piece. So kind of disappointing in that sense. I feel like before this design was a bit more of an overlap. So both kind of acted together, but this is barely going to get hit. It's going to go through there and hit that. With that said, CCM has done probably the best job in terms of index finger protection, because you have this layer, it's going to get hit, this layer, it's going to get hit, and then you have this D3O on the side, and this is fantastic. Like, this design is great. It's going to be super protective, probably the most protective index finger design on the market because of that D3O. So having that layer and that layer is great on the glove as well. When we move under the glove though, you can kind of see some of the issues where specifically this piece doesn't really come down far enough. This isn't adjustable at all, and this piece is too small. It is kind of sloped a bit, which we'll show in a second, but it definitely doesn't come far enough down to really protect your fingertips. This one is okay, but even then it is kind of a little high. It could come down a little bit more, but it's not bad, and you still have that D3O there, so that's good as well. No issues like the Vaughn with where my finger kind of sits. It's totally hidden behind here, so no complaints there whatsoever. But this definitely could come down more and cover more and be a bigger piece. I love this design and how this piece is very uniform and how it goes up and down. I still think it needs to almost be connected to the tip to really pull it down more, but it doesn't, and that is kind of how the way it is. And you can see the little angled block here, which again could be a little bit more angled to kind of pull it down towards the fingers more, or it really could just be attached to the fingertips to kind of come down more as well. Overall, excellent design in terms of index finger protection, kind of lacking here, but index finger protection is one of the best specifically with this D30 and having kind of 3 layers. If this was a bit of a different angle, you could even have 4 layers and use this to help protect with the puck. Fortunately, it's not quite there. So we talked a bit about this wear guard right here. There actually isn't one on this piece right here. So it is just that normal nylon. So I had no issues whatsoever with poke checks. This puck would slide through here very well. So this nylon will eventually wear out over a long usage, but performance wise, it's going to be great from day one, especially with those grip sticks. So I don't really have a huge issue with that. Well, I preferred the reinforced with Gen Pro like this for old wooden sticks. And now that things have grips, I kind of like going back to this nylon one, just so you get more ability to get rid of that stick so it doesn't grip and I don't have to sand the grips off, and so it's easier for poke checking and stick control, sliding it up and down. Sure grip on here, and it is one of the pro custom options. I do like the Sure grip normally, and the Sure grip material can be seen right here in the palm of this, and I kind of prefer Sure grip on gloves. And I will say though, this, and I'm continuing this on again, the CCM Sure grip just is too, like, it's not 3D enough compared to like what the true one is, where it just feels like more textured. You can see how you can really see into those textured pieces, especially right there, and on the thumb right here, where you can really see how it's like 3D. And on the CCM one, you can kind of see here, but it just doesn't feel that as textured as what's on that like the true ones. I wouldn't mind Sure grip here at all for a little bit more grip in the palm itself, but the AX suede feels fantastic. The other option here is to have a loose and tight fit on here. I'm pretty sure this is the tight fit because it is pretty snug. So this basically can just come out a little bit more, so you have more of a loose fit backhand if you have bigger hands. The other option on there is the blocker hand position, so you can have it offset or centered. I'm pretty sure this one is offset because it does feel like it's up on the board a little bit more, especially compared to when you kind of look at this, how the fingers can go past the board here, and on here they don't go past the board. And when you wear it, this one definitely feels like your hands kind of lower on the board. There's more overhang up here versus here, where your hand position definitely seems like it is up more on the board itself. Now, I prefer the lower hand position as my ultimate favorite, but this offset is really nice to have, so you can have those two options. Obviously this, when your hand kind of goes up the board here more, you can get lower shots on the blocker easier, and you have kind of less overlap with this part and the upper of your arm because the blocker isn't as high up in your arm. But sometimes it can have an issue with balance, and balance on this feels very good regardless. So it's not a concern or issue there. And speaking of balance, since we just did, this thing feels honestly really good. Previously, I kind of wasn't a fan of CCM blockers. Thought they were kind of like one of the most mediocre on the market. This thing felt great. Hitting pucks off this felt really good. I never really felt anything kind of tilting too much like that. Everything felt pretty controlled. Everything up here I could control pretty well too. So I was a big fan of how this felt overall. And like I said, the balance is really good. And going on to the weight, I do not weigh gloves and gear anymore because people are too worried about weight. But since this is kind of the biggest competitor to them, this glove feels slightly heavier than what this glove does, especially when you wear it. And I think the big reason for that though is because of that hand position, where this one is lower on and this one is a little bit higher. So this one just feels like slightly heavier down there. But overall, it's so close that it really doesn't matter whatsoever. And it's light enough and it feels good enough that I never notice it when playing with it. Now, rebounds on this are also pretty impressive. They're not Bauer level, curve composite impressive. That is on all my kind of my favorite Bauer blockers, but they're good and it's solid. I really kind of wish CCM, like you can still see the plastic in here. You can hear it. I really wish CCM kind of tried to do the composite thing where they had to use their rocket frame and stuff before, just to kind of see what they can do with this. And like they went with the smaller board right here as well, so I kind of wish they went that way. But the rebounds on this were pretty hot. I can control them well, especially like the stuff up here was very controllable, kind of punching it down, also helping obviously when you're reaching to kind of help from keeping it out of the net as well. Rebounds were hot. Still think they're slightly less than maybe the Warrior, and especially less than the Bauer, but they were solid and they didn't leave anything on the table where I felt disappointed on it. And finally, on to protection. This is one where I actually did feel a few shots from it. They weren't painful, like, and ow, that hurt really, but I just noticed it more than I was kind of expecting. And I was playing against Junior B and Junior A kids who are, I think, like they're in grade 12, so like 17, 18. It didn't hurt, but I did notice it. I'm like, oh, I didn't think I would feel that, because on a lot of the blockers I have, like this one, for example, I haven't felt anything like that. But it wasn't as bad as that ultrasonic I used in the past, which was not very good for that. But I do want to call it out. I didn't have any real issues with it though, and I can't see it being a problem. Sidewall was also plenty protective enough. You can see a bunch of shots from there as well. And this is pretty beefy overall, so I'm pretty satisfied in that as well. Overall, I am very, very impressed with the CCM Eflex 6 blocker. And I talked about this when reviewing some of my more recent gear and like the Vaughn V10 stuff. This blocker would 100% be gamed in playoffs for me. If this was a whole set and like this was a part of the whole set, I would have no issues using this blocker whatsoever in those games. And that is a big praise for me because like when I play playoffs, I pick specific gear that I like. And so gloves happen to be switched out quite often. Blocker, I have a couple Bauer ones I kind of always go back to. This one, I would have zero issues gaming this in playoffs whatsoever. So it really means I don't feel like I would be leaving anything really on the table when using it. So that's high praise for me. And I think CCM has done a really solid job with this blocker. And to be completely honest, this is the bright spot of this line. This is the best piece of this entire line. So that should say a lot about the line, and maybe the blocker is actually really just that good, but it is very solid. It doesn't have anything that makes me say you have to have this, and it would really push people into this blocker compared to something else. So Bauer still has the crazy rebounds like this one. Bauer still has that hand position like this one. If you want the two-piece, the Hyperlight 2 will be a smaller board, crazy rebounds, different hand position. Then the Supreme will be more of a similar hand position to this, but with that bigger rebounds, might be slightly heavier. But then as well, going to this one, to be totally honest, you get better quality with the True than what is on this one. It's Canadian made. The materials are just better. That's just unfortunately how they are, and like the palm materials and stuff are better. And I would say this one is probably going to be slightly more protective as well, but you get some better like index finger protection on this and stuff like that is better. So there's nothing on this blocker that really makes me say that you should really go into this blocker and mix match it with another set. So thank you very much for watching this video. Hopefully it was helpful. Remember to subscribe to me on YouTube and Instagram and TikTok. Links are in the description. This video wouldn't have happened without the help of Just Hockey, so make sure you check them out as well in the description. Buy something hockey related or non-hockey related because they sell other stuff too, and let them know that you came from me. It'd be greatly appreciated on my end. If you want to see me review specific pieces of gear, please reach out to companies on social media like Access to CCM Goalie on social media. Let them know that you want to see hockey reviews, review their equipment. It'd be greatly appreciated. So hopefully I can test more gear and do some more reviews. Make sure you check the reviews of the rest of this set. It will be pretty interesting. So thank you very much for watching, and take it easy.
You're watching HockeyReviews.ca.